What's up, friends? What's up, compatriots around the world, across the internet, social media, all of my fellow fandom when it comes to the gaming industry. Whether you're a console gamer, whether you're a PC gamer, whether you deal exclusively in online apps, whether they be RPGs, strategies, tower defense, idle, RPGs, click'ems, the massive array of possibilities that one has when one says, I want to game today. It is my day off. It's a weekend. No matter what age you are, you have the ability to pick up a controller, sit down at a computer, and start playing some games. Immerse yourself in a reality that is separate from our own. People escape not only their problems, their stresses, their worries by jumping onto a game. People can channel everything about themselves into a game, into their experience, and by unlocking really their own limitations, by removing the barriers of oneself in a mental way, and really that mental state can be so strong that it affects your physical way. And by letting go of those self-restrictions, one can truly have a transcendent experience. I will never forget, and in parentheses off to the side, I'll never forget, and I'm sure so many others can say the same, the first time I played blank. I got PlayStation 1 the Christmas that it came out, and my mom played a huge dupe on me, man, and she, we had everything else at Christmas. I was super grateful, super satisfied. I got a ton of toys, and I remember distinctly her asking me to take the laundry downstairs because we were going to have company over for Christmas breakfast, and I griped. I was in single digits, most definitely, but as a kid, I was like, oh man, it's Christmas, Ma. I want to play with all my stuff, man. I don't have time for chores. That can be done whenever. Adults do that stuff, man, so that kids can really enjoy Christmas. They don't just work around the clock. A theme as relevant today as it was in my childhood. My mom was a single mother, and she had me at 17. Now, as a 27-year-old, both of us have experienced a crazy range of life. We had crazy walks of life, just like every other individual on the planet that has a story to tell, which is everybody. Our stories are life, and gaming plays such a huge part of so many lives in the modern age. The reason why I put out and got accepted to the online bachelor's degree program for game design at Full Sail University, which I've been calling it for 10 years now that I was going to end up here, finally, after the Navy, after traveling the world, after meeting the fan base of so many different genres of games, huge fans, huge supporters, huge creative developer. There's a creative developer in everyone, because I think the second you really get into something, whether it be your flavor, your hobby, whatever it is that you really get into, if it has anything to do with gaming, I think to a degree, you not only get passionate about it, but most people are at least passively thinking at times, maybe after it's over would be the most common time, but they start thinking of what improvements they would have made to the thing they loved because they love it. I have conversations with my fiance all the time about my aspirations for the gaming industry, but she tells me and she points out to me that my scope is too broad, that I have been putting out on social media for years now, through using Twitter, not so much Instagram, but through Twitter, through Facebook, through Reddit, through YouTube, and through Spreaker here, as well as written blogs on Blogspot. I don't know if that's Dave Grindle. That might be Galadorn. It might be Of a Mad Panda. There's so many aliases. Dave Grindal. The Duke of YouTube. I've branched out in so many ways, seeking a conversation with the people that are embedded in the gaming industry, and most specifically, the ones that make the decision yes or no when it comes to accepting a new project, accepting not only the potential benefits, the dreamed benefits that a creator of any concept that will become a game, or they wish to become a game, wants to impart to the people they're getting financial trust from. Because my vision of what I thought the gaming industry would be like was I would start a Kickstarter and I'd create a creative solutions and analysis think tank called Zero Fail Industries. And myself at the head, and with many of the true bros, friends, compatriots, and associate. Not everyone is more than an associate, but what has made my relationship to these people that I would include my bros from throughout life, from throughout naval service, my time in San Diego, Chicago, Virginia, harkening back to Pennsylvania and my roots, both in the city, of urban walks of life and suburban, man. The whole wide, crazy rainbow of human possibility. I've come across a slice of almost each one of them. And we all have one thing in common, that when we are chilling, when we're relaxing, like the entertainment complex and industry across the world does mean a lot, especially when times get tough. I'm one of those people who might be tempted to say, we have bigger problems, like why is there all this money floating around in the entertainment industry, in television, the media, gaming, computer technology, all this money that's floating around for convenience and luxury, when I do understand that both in a government and non-government way, that the computer technology of today came about the same way that the computer technology of tomorrow came about. There was a meeting somewhere of the creative and the imaginative and the logical and engineering halves of the brain. And they didn't have to come from the same person. We know the icons, we know the powerhouses, we know the creative forces that have moved mankind along, especially in the last 100 years, in advancing from a time when horses and buggies were the primary mode of transportation, when pack animals were the way of transport for a majority of the human population across the world 100 years ago. Look at what life is like today. I think I am amiss. I am truly doing this wrong, and I'm doing it dishonestly if I don't come right out and say, it's not for me. When I make claims, when I speak on a subject, on the subject of any one of the projects that I have either founded myself or been involved heavily as part of a team of 2, 3, 4, when it comes to Pokemon The Convergence, when it comes to The Unwilling and the Star Wars reboot have been solo projects for me. And as I've chosen The Unwilling to be the project I work on during my 32 months of education and working at it, how can I even explain? Folks, I have been paused for about half an hour talking with my fiance out here shooting the shiz about this and that. Taking a nice little break, man, off to what I thought was a great start. I want to get back into it because while you might not have yet figured out the end game I have in mind for this little audio journal, but I discuss people, I discuss the world situations, all to lead us back into the gaming industry. My point on the positive effect of gaming, of not distraction, but immersion in something meant to draw out the epicness, the creativity, the imagination, and the mental unburdening of being in a truly amazing game. Now, I think anybody, no matter if you're from the generations before the current standard of gaming or you're so young that, hey, I'm not the only one with a toddler that knows how to use a smartphone, and I don't do it to distract them. I do it because that is the integration of everything that kids will be involved with in their education. At least I hope. If my evil plans succeed, all homes will have access to this abundance of technology throughout the world, and I think connectivity will be vastly improved. What's going on? Is she carrying something? Is that my baby? I don't think so. Back again after another pause. A palmetto bug is like a skinny spider-eating cockroach, and a few of its homies have gotten into the apartment, and though they've eaten some spiders, man, and we tolerate them for that, I leave a little bowl of Apple Jacks out for them every night. And just like little elves, little spider murderer elves, they do nibble and leave us notes of gratitude and new shoes. No, they don't make shoes, but there's no spiders creeping around, and that's cool, man. But one of them tried to crawl onto my baby's face, or apparently it was creeping towards him across the floor when my wife went back in. That wasn't a half hour. That was like 5 minutes, too. 5 minutes. And in that time, my son's sleeping peacefully through the night, 2 weeks old, as of 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. Almost murdered by a spider killer. He must look very spider-like. Spider-Man. Kind of lost track. But I didn't lose track of the topic. I know what we're here to discuss. And I think this, in the end, will evolve into the podcast / radio show that serves as an audible hub for Zero Fail. Because what Zero Fail is meant to do is not only to seek out gaming companies that we are all familiar with and those on the rise, and sit down, read their storyboard, and make everything the best that it can be made. And this is not to speak against, it has to be said, it's not to speak against the talent of some of the games that have really changed our lives. And many other Full Sail graduates have their names embedded forever on Internet Inc., that they have taken part in some of the greatest projects of gaming history to date, and I'm proud to share their legacy in the future and follow in their footsteps. But there should not be a game once a year that blows everybody's minds. I look at World of Warcraft as being the first truly uniting force in massively multiplayer online role-playing games. Now, MMOs are essentially a dime a dozen now, and a lot of free-to-plays / microtransaction constructs have gone a very far way, and I think in having chosen the Unwilling to be my game, my flagship, my dedication to cover and build on over 32 straight months of education leading up to a bachelor's in game design, I want to sit down for at least a half an hour, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I mean, 30 minutes in a day is nothing. But for 30 minutes a day, I want to detail my aspirations and my ambitions for the gaming world, the things that I think could be infinitely improved in our current latest generation gaming, and all of my plans for the virtual reality gaming scene. Because creating a fully immersive environment, I fear nothing in citing Sword Art Online for what a game should feel like. Now, getting to the point in which you have a helmet device or some sort of hardware that can interface with your senses and your firing synapses that can put you entirely in a game in that matter where you can move freely whilst laying still IRL, we need to work within our binds. We need to work within the confines of what people are doing and improving on every day to create virtual reality gaming. And the people who will still continue to create console games, PlayStation 4 Plus and previous, and Xbox, the ever-evolving world of PC gaming and performance capability, and the absolute beauty of modding. We have such a vast community, and to be living in the day where I not only have a PS4, and millions upon millions of others across the world have PS4s, which I can link up with across the vastness of social media, but most importantly, can game with and game alongside in the single-player realm. Achievements being hunted, leaderboard stats in almost every regard, and the merger of communications and cross-server possibilities with the Xbox world. We should seize the opportunity, and I want to plant zero fails flag all up in this movement. Because if I'm sitting here today, having said so many times over the past decade, a combination of Sony and Microsoft's capability bringing not only their gaming departments together, but providing the full might of both their software and hardware production capability, we could create a 2-foot by 2-foot cube that contained the most brilliant and amazing processing power in regards to games. Perfect audio, perfect visual, amazing cooling, and a dedicated system that would consist of jobs for tens. Thinking of the scale of a one-stop shop for gaming. I mean, it's something that's been dreamed of for quite a long time, but with its impact on the economies of the world, I don't understand how the initiative has not been taken. Because if you're talking about the construction of thousands of new server farms, relay points, communications relays and arrays, like the sheer magnitude of the project of connecting everybody on Earth and giving them not only connectivity, but a forum on which to produce art, to express themselves, to game, to enjoy, to watch movies, to stream, to comment, to socialize with one another in a huge one-stop shop. And nobody would hate the monopoly that would dominate the entertainment industry in such a positive way, like the good king, the once and future king. The future is now, where we unite everything for the good, where people don't get screwed over. People don't get screwed over with all of the capability in one spot. It should be much more efficient to construct hardware, to build and perfect and disperse software with an endless pool of talent that is now combined and congealed in one spot, in one huge brain trust think tank, that we could not produce the perfect product. That virtual reality could be perfected and our connection to the digital world could be solid. 100% completely solid at last. And my true goal for the Unwilling is to be the project that made it all worthwhile. I look at a concept in scale akin to what was dreamed of and foretold in Ready Player One, in science fiction, what we've been seeing for decades as technology took this turn into automation and computation in the way it did. People said all the time that we had the capability to create amazing things. artificial intelligence being something that we mess with today, predicted 30, 40, 50 years ago by people who saw the impact of technology and machination in the human pattern. I'll say it again, I'll say it as many times as I have to, and I'm sure thousands of times we'll say it in the next 32 months, but The Unwilling is that project. The Unwilling paints a world that is living and breathing. The sheer expanse of life dispersed throughout the world of The Unwilling it's massive. It's massive compared to anything I've ever seen. Like, if you can imagine stepping into the movie Lord of the Rings, you wouldn't be doing yourself the favor, because that's such a small slice of what would be happening in The Unwilling. The struggle of battle in the era of melee combat, conventional medieval combat, with weapons being as brutal and personal as they were, as rudimentary, and really taking, in essence, the reason why we developed the way we did in the ways of warfare, of technology, of industry, of engineering, of medicine, of education, of theology. And I mixed the huge vat of source material of the cultures of the world over the last 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, and combined multiple variable aspects of different cultures together in a dozen pots. And what that turned out was very refined, complex cultures that are fictional in construct, but combine something that's familiar from all of our understandings of our origins. Because the humans that inhabit the earth of The Unwilling are much like us. They've come from an extensive timeline of thousands upon thousands, in the case of The Unwilling, just since the cataclysmic event, as opposed to when we switch many traditional calendars that have anything to do with the Roman basis. That has to do with a religious event that dominates how we tell time millennia later. In this case, it was a truly cataclysmic event that took place if you were to create an Earth that was similar in almost every way, except it had 3 times the mass. It was 3 times the size. It's much like if we were to peek across the galaxy and find a Goldilocks planet that was 3 times as massive as Earth, but seemed to be at that distance that it had a very interesting effect, right? Now, the cause of this cataclysm on this Earth, as it's simply called, the world Earth, in where the truth of religion is that the overwriter, the Father, the paternal spirit, is an intelligence, a sentience, a logic that moves throughout existence and this rather vacuous space without end, and he creates life and creates the forces that move the universe, much like we have deciphered mathematics. And it's true intertwining with every other aspect of reality. And when he creates, he imbues not sentience, but the feeling, the passion, the soul of life into the bodies he creates. Now, he might create a super density. I mean, if you want to talk about how it's done, knowing the answers ourselves allows us to view the concepts of religion not in a way we view them in the actual world, but when they are truly put to a constructive purpose without fail. Because the cataclysmic event of so many millennia ago in the human timeline of the Earth in The Unwilling was the release of divine energy in the form of minor gods, demigods, gods, from the earth itself, becoming the matter in much the way matter can't be created or destroyed, coming of the matter of the earth herself, using large portions of the power imbued in her to bring life and nature and sustain the forces that make a planet with an atmosphere like ours. Taking of that energy and manifesting as dozens and dozens of primal, physical abomination gods. And I like that classic view. Now think about it, 10 millennia ago. I mean, think about how much contest is between us over 2K and the ranges of numbers people think are representative of our planet's age. But the conflict isn't there in the Unwilling, because it was a bad thing, because the lives of man and the intelligent life born as man on this earth came prior to that. And angry at the lack of its chance to become a physical sentience, the part of the divinely imbued power manifested itself by force against the will of nature to become these gods, and they twisted everything in this very human aspect that I sometimes see in our own religious stories, that gods acted very much like people and felt emotion the way they did and acted out and lashed out at times and had a negative effect or a positive effect in choosing sides between humans. But, okay, I'm only railing on about this because the theological aspect is pretty big in the context of the foundation, but other than that, play style doesn't have much to do with it. Unless you make it that way. However, the twisting of humans' lifestyles from being a very basic, I want to say what Native Americans have told us represented our early history, in terms of living in communion with this huge balance of life going on around themselves, was now about war and greed. And I feel like that is when currency comes in. That's when we see the construct of huge cities like these gods, to their credit, spur the advancement of mankind by imbuing their technologies on them. Their concepts... Oh, sorry, I had something land on me. It react with lightning quickness, but I can't get Zika because I live in northern Florida, and so I kill everything that touches me instantly. Because I am and will be in the Unwilling not a final boss to anybody, but a roaming character whose level ascends beyond Super Saiyan 15. He is the God Spirit, and we're gonna get into that later. Don't get at me about that just yet. But I feel like it is the dream of many designers and creators in the video game industry to be represented in the game, and I feel like I want my character to be the interested manifestation of the original creator of the universe, tooling around on the world, because this is 10,000 years after the intervention in the human timeline by these demigods. And when the creator manifested a part of himself again at this site where he felt an imbalance from such a great distance, because he never goes back. But in this case, it disturbed him because it was the first time that things didn't go according to his plan. And he decides to restart the clocks, but he destroys these demigods and their influence, banishing their physical manifestations, but the souls of these deities did maintain and play a role in the comparative number of gods to the comparative number of humans that their souls inhabit periodically throughout all these tens of millennia. Now, we are coming to a close here. We're only 10 seconds plus out from the end, man, the forced end of this podcast, but Thank you for joining me. We'll talk more convergence for 32 months straight. Like I said, 30 minutes a day. Come hang with me. I think I can throw down some good ideas.